Okay. Oh, okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this session of the Black Liberation Caucus agenda. Okay, so we now are all here. So what cities are represented? I guess, well, you're recording it, but for the purposes of the recording, I'm Sheila Harper from Philadelphia Wolf Branch. And I'll start, and whoever can go next. Shantae?
Sure, I'm Shantae McLaughlin here in the Atlanta Metro Branch, and I am organizer of the Atlanta Metro Branch and with the support of George Friday as well as Teresa Elamine. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you.
Lucy Murphy with the District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia branch.
Excellent. Excellent. Virginia, okay.
Hey there, George Friday here with the Southern Piedmont branch in North Carolina. I'm the organizer of the Southern Piedmont branch, and I help with the Triad branch, and I co-convene with the strategy team of Shantae, Teresa, and Daryl, the Black Liberation Caucus. We're the strategy team, and I also co-convene two of the Advancing Human Rights subcommittees, Ending Mass Incarceration and the Death Penalty, and the UN Decade and Reparations. Glad to be here. I will pass it on to Rosa.
Rosa? Rita, you mean?
I didn't mean Rita, my apologies.
Okay, Rita.
It's kind of like being called Rodriguez when I'm at Gonzalez, but that's okay. You got to pass. You got to pass, sister. Well, I've been here 2 weeks, and I'm actually going to be staying here long term. So I haven't been able to keep up with what's going on in Trinity, in the Triad. But I still have my connections there. So it's just that I've been trying to relocate. I'm in an Airbnb, which was really too much. But I'm looking for rental property here. The biggest things going on here is, well, the cartel kind of settled down. Everything was a-okay. My trip was very strange here in the things that occurred. But as I was on the plane, my daughter sent me a notice that the cartel had gone off, and it started with one cartel fighting another, and then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. So everybody was worried that I was going to come in the middle of some kind of warfare down here, but I really didn't see it. I'm in a group with expats, and they said they didn't see much of anything going on. They saw a higher military presence, but nothing in their area. But there were some firebombing going on in cars, and they did have a curfew here for a while, and it wasn't implemented by the military or the police. Actually, the cartel set the curfew, and they said that they would shoot anybody on the weekend after 6 o'clock. So a lot of businesses were closing early to get back home. Sorry about that. There's a guy selling like popsicles over here in the neighborhood. But I've not experienced anything negative here at all. Of course, the U.S. is always threatening or saying things. It's not safe to travel to Mexico, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of violence. There's a lot of violence in the U.S. They need to get over it. They need to get real. Come on now. It's been very pleasant here. The biggest things going on right now are people as old as myself, if not older, not being able to find jobs. it's kind of hard to think that people that have retired have to be out here working, but I've seen, it really hurt my heart to see older people having to work out here when they should be at home by this time. And women
and
my age out there selling little trinkets and stuff to make money. So that really hurt. The other big thing, which I was pleasantly surprised, well, I shouldn't use that word. There was an incident where some people got a hold of a little baby bear, and it's a video with a bunch of people just laughing and hooping it up, and they were torturing this little bear and killed it. And so change.org has a petition going on. I think you can get it in English. I just got it in Spanish to bring justice. You know, I don't approve of cruelty to animals in any way, shape, or form. I'm an animal lover. I have 2 dogs and a cat. And
Rita, this is an item that's 30 seconds for each person.
oh,
You probably
sorry,
gone.
sorry. I am so sorry. I got carried away. Sorry.
No, but, well, congratulations. and communication.
George, could you take down the agenda so we can all see each other? Thank you. I'm Teresa Elamine in Columbus, Georgia, in the Fannie Lou Hamer branch. Ditto to what George said about us co-convening the subcommittees of advancing human rights, which includes ending mass incarceration and the death penalty, and the UN Decade Reparations Subcommittee. And later in the agenda, we can talk about the No NATO Subcommittee that George and I co-convene. Thank you.
Deirdre. Or CC Anderson. Or Donna from Cape Cod.
Hello, it's Donna Peel up here in the Northland, Cape Cod, and not too far from Boston, 90 miles, but it's a totally different world here. And we have a real history of slavery with the ship captains that made billions of dollars on slave running. So that's where I am, and we're trying to do something about it. I'm working with Teresa and George on the reparations committee. I'm the new chair of advancing human rights. And I'm learning how to be that by listening to Teresa and George. So I'm glad to be here today.
Well, welcome.
Well,
Liz-
Sheila,
Liz-
Sheila,
yes.
Deidre is keeping her grandchildren. So I'll do a quick introduction of Deidre Whittlesey. She's the co-representative to the Black Liberation Caucus from the Fannie Lou Hamer branch. And she does a lot of work with the Department of Family and Children's Services. She's been with them for many years. And so we get to transfer that work into the community, working with parents and families in high poverty, low opportunity areas. So I'm very happy that Deidre Whittlesey is the vice chair of the Southern Anti-Racism Network, as well as being co-representative to the Black Liberation Caucus from the Fannie Lou Hamer branch, because she did text me that she was there with the children, but she's listening in.
Okay, great. Okay, great. And Cece and Claudia just joined us. Claudia, can you please let us know what city you're representing of Wolf? Claudia or Cece? Okay, Cece, hi.
Hey, I didn't hear you at first. CC Anderson, Metro Atlanta, with Shantae and also with Teresa. So glad to be in attendance today.
Well, thank you, Cece.
Okay.
We want to hear more about what happened to Women in Action for New Direction. So give me a call.
Okay, and then we have someone just came on and dropped off. Okay, so I guess we can just, oh, Claudia, no, you're here, right?
It's Mama Fatima.
Oh, Mama Fatima, hi.
Hi,
Hi. Your face is so familiar. What city are you with?
I'm in New Orleans right
You're in
now.
New Orleans. Okay. Oh, great. That's favorite town. Okay, great food. Anyway, okay, so you're representing New Orleans
Well,
on
I
today?
guess you could say that.
Okay, okay. That's your origin city in terms of wolf.
Well, it's where I live now.
Okay, yeah, so then yes, okay, you are representing. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Please pardon my hiccups. Let's see, we will first on our agenda, Teresa, can you maybe put it back up? Not Teresa. George, can you put the agenda back up that way? Okay, good. Okay, so that's the welcome and the check-in. So we're going to do the BOPA update. And at this point, if we can put that up on the screen.
Mhm.
Here we go. Well, I have it, but are you going to do it, George?
I am.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, let me close this out then.
All right, then. So you see here our basis of political agreement. This is a foundation that we use as the center of our work. And we agreed on it in 2021 in May. Our decisions are made by consensus. We discuss an issue until there is no unreadiness to move forward. So we make our decisions by consensus. We have our steering committee monthly meeting, which is this meeting. Ideally, we have 2 representatives of African descent from each branch, and we meet monthly. These are our areas of identified work. Reparations, freeing all political prisoners, criminal justice reform, end mass incarceration, ending voter suppression, free Palestine, solidarity, the anti-racist transformation of Wealth US, solidarity with other oppressed peoples of color, universal health care for all, Medicare for all, immigration justice, and BIPOC women's reproductive health. Also, our strategy team is listed here. That's Teresa, myself, Shantae, and Daryl. Are there any questions or updates to the BOPA?
Well,
Okay.
I guess my question is, how are each of our various objectives, how are we faring in terms of reaching each of those objectives? I know Shantae talked a lot about her work in ending mass incarceration, but like, let's say right now, I think voter suppression is probably dominant on the list because November is like right around the corner. And this 2022, I know Georgia has some issues. I know Pennsylvania has some major issues because we've got this guy running for governor who was at the January 6th. He sponsored buses to January 6th attendance, and he is running for governor of Pennsylvania. And if you recall, Pennsylvania was one of the states that the former president was able to convince to turn over the results of the election. So the last thing we need outside of Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania looks like Alabama.
Yes, I understand. Most of these
Okay.
areas of work
Yeah.
we are doing through the Advancing Human Rights Committee. And some of them we've focused on having webinars or specific educational events around. Teresa has her hand up.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say that this list came together based on issues that many of us are already working on. So, for instance, Mama Fatima is a leader in COBRA, the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. and quite a few of us are working on reparations work in our various cities and states. And we have a commitment to, so all of this is work that was basically identified by members of the BLC that we're all working on. And I must say, it's really important to point out that a lot of this work is done through the Advancing Human Rights Committee, of which Donna chairs, and George and I work on two subcommittees, actively co-convening them, and the Migrant and Border Justice, Migration and Border Justice Committee is a committee that Adrian works on. He's not with us today, probably getting ready for a big event he's having in Atlanta. But yes, this is all work that we've all been engaged in.
So at this point, I know myself personally, the Immigration Justice, I am a member of the Mayor's Commission on African, Caribbean, and Immigrant Affairs. And we have 49 different countries represented. I would be very much interested in doing work with that subcommittee, the immigration justice piece, because that's most of the issues that we deal with at that commission. So I'd be very interested in working on that. And now I know where I saw Mama Fatima, the reparations piece. Okay, because I've been on some of those Zooms recently, well, over the years, but okay, great. Okay, thank you for that update.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, and it's still my responsibility and pleasure now to share with folks. I'm going to check to make sure I'm okay on the agenda. Yes, I'll now be doing the BLC strategy chart. So let me put that up. All right. And this is our 3-year strategy chart. We're now in the second phase of this. We're in the phase that began in July and will go until June of next year. And here are our goals: to have 150 new members in 5 regions, for 10 branch cities to initiate and win reparation ordinances by the end of June 2023. Also, by the end of June 2023, 10 branches will participate in the anti-racist transformation. Now, here are our allies and transformation partners. These have been identified by those of us on the BLC. Check out this list of branch partners. We see these as ally branches. If you see a branch listed on here that you think is definitely not an ally branch, flag that, let us know. I'm now going to scroll up and look at the individual allies. These are allies of European descent who are members of branches that have been identified as such by the members of the BLC. Again, if you see a name on here that you think is most definitely not an ally, let us know.
I would like to add Louise Lacey as an individual ally. She's here in Philadelphia. I've known her, and she's part of the reason that I'm even involved with Wolf. And she's definitely an ally. And well, later on in the Philadelphia report, I'll tell you what's going on. LIC, good. SI, good.
May have to go back later and fix the
Okay.
font and all that, but we got her there.
Yeah, her spelling is Lisi, yes, Lisi.
Okay, very good. We have organizations here that we are affiliated with or know leaders of that we can identify as allies. And now I'm going to go.
George,
Yes,
on the allies list, I think we should definitely add Cold Pink. I had a really great conversation with Marcy, and because of the work that we're doing with peace in Ukraine, I think it's important to put Cold Pink.
very good. Thanks. Okay, I want to highlight our activities. We're still working to get the list of resources for the anti-racism transformation together. That's the resources. Here are activities that have happened or will occur between now and the end of June. Connecting with sections in Africa. Our meetings are here. There will be the Palestine-Lebanon webinar this year. We'll talk more about that later, or you'll hear more about it later. So this section is added to as activities occur. Right now, we've got some activities sketched out through next year of 2023.
So George, oh yeah, I see the Palestine and Lebanon webinars there. But we also have a no NATO webinar coming up in October, and that probably should be added. Because
It's right here under.
Oh,
yeah.
I see it. Okay, great. But the one thing I will say for everybody who recently, this is a kind of two areas of work, 3-year strategy. One area is recruitment of new members, and we're doing very well with that. We set a goal of 50 new members between January and June of this year, and we definitely surpassed that goal. So we want to be at the halfway mark, at least have 150 new members. So we're trying to encourage all members to recruit new members. And we've been doing that with the Fannie Lou Hamer branch, recruiting younger and younger women to the Fannie Lou Hamer branch. But I will say on the other area of work, the anti-racism transformation or art work, we're really behind schedule with that. So the strategy team has a meeting on September 9th, and a big part of that discussion will be coming up with a plan for how we're gonna work with branches, probably starting next year, on the anti-racism transformation of branches. So we're counting on the Philadelphia branch to participate in some of that workshop training. Probably quite a bit of it will be on Zoom, but that's a conversation that the strategy team needs to have when we meet. But that is kind of, in my point of view, the weak part.
Here in Philadelphia, we've already established our second art meeting with the entire branch. We'll go into the detail during our Philadelphia report, but we held one, I guess it was in earlier this month, and we'll be doing one once a month in terms of anti-racism work. So,
well, that would be good to hear about. So George, if we could move the agenda, that would be great. If there are no other questions about the 3-year strategy chart.
Okay, and if y'all don't have this and you want it, send me an email, let me know, I can send it your way.
Well, George, why don't you just send it out to everybody?
Great, I will do that.
Well,
Okay,
I see another member of the Fannie Lou Hamer branch has joined, Sister Etta Lamb. So Sister Etta, if you could introduce yourself. Hey, Etta, unmute yourself, Etta. Ada is really not into computers here.
You can just hit the space bar. The space bar is the long, narrow one in the middle at the bottom. You have to hold it down. If when you hit the space bar, you have to hold it down, but it'll work.
Ada doesn't do much with computers.
Okay,
There
thank
you
you.
go. So come on, Ada, tell
Am
people.
I unmuted now?
Yes,
Yes.
we hear you. So
We hear you.
introduce yourself, Ada.
Hello, I'm Etta Lamb,
Hello.
and this is going into the second year of the Wilkes organization.
And what
Yeah.
are you representing, Eddie?
Yeah, she's a second year member, she's saying.
Of
And
the
so
city?
Etta is a retired teacher from Jefferson County, Alabama, Columbiana. But she originally hails from Phoenix City, Alabama, and she now lives in Columbus, Georgia. And she's a serious Luddite opposed to computers. So I'm so glad that she accommodated my insistence that she try to get on. Look at her laughing about it. Well, thank you, Sister Ada. Glad you got on and glad Courtney was able to help you get on his computer. Thank you, Ada. So I see that Mama Fatima has her hand up, Sheila.
Oh, yes, Mama Fatima. Sorry. Sometimes I
yes.
don't look. Yes.
There was something that I wanted to add because it's not on the agenda that would take about 2 minutes. So if you all have time, maybe you could just work me in. This is not anything that's going to be long drawn out.
What is it about?
Well, I received word from my Cobra National co-chair that there are 5 states that are going to have ballot initiatives for the midterm elections. And I believe those states are Oregon, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, and Vermont, to change the wording of the state constitution to eliminate the reference to involuntary servitude and slavery. And one of the reasons why I'm approaching this group, I know we all against slavery, that's not the point, is that we don't have, and Cobra right now does not have an outreach in Vermont or Oregon. Louisiana, Alabama were fine, and perhaps Tennessee, in the South, we can handle it. But in the farther out states, we might need some European allies to at least get the word out for people to vote to get those state constitutional changes in those 5 states.
So is the vote to make sure the language is not taken out, or is it to add language? What exactly are people being asked to do?
Well, I'm not sure about state to state, but I know for sure they want to get rid of any reference to slavery or involuntary servitude in the correction system. So I know they're trying to take it out. Now, how they plan to be reworded, that would probably might vary from state to state.
Well, we do have allies in Oregon and Vermont, I think, who would possibly help with that. So thanks for letting us know. I see Shantae has her hand up, Sheila.
Okay. Oh, Shantae, hi. Okay.
Hi, also in looking at possible new business, there is a group that's based out of Texas, I think it's called Scepter, who created a public policy for homelessness to be classified as a crime. So it's passed, the bill has passed in I want to say 8 states so far. It's a predominantly Republican group. They're trying to make it so that there will be encampments and homeless people will be treated kind of like ICE. There's going to be a whole committee. In Georgia, the bill did not pass in Georgia, but it was presented. And so that is something that I would like to bring as a topic, homeless rights.
Is it possible, Shantae, that you can send a copy of the bill that they're trying to pass or obtain a copy of it?
Yes, I sit on the Client Advisory Council for the Homeless in Atlanta, and that's where it was brought up in a conversation last week because the bill didn't make it through. But yes, I'll obtain a copy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, so it can get circulated to everybody in the Black Liberation
right.
Caucus.
Exactly.
Thank you, Shante.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so our next item is how's it going in Greater Philadelphia? Okay, well, as I said, we last month had a strategy meeting on anti-racism, and I invited a male, African-American male psychiatrist, because I knew that it would be very emotional, the discussion. And, I also made some recommendations because I didn't coordinate it this month, September, I believe, 27th, I will be a coordinator. But last month, I felt as though it was such an emotional issue that we need a psychiatrist or somebody that deals with that trauma associated with it. And I also felt it coming from all ends. The irony of the whole thing was that this psychiatrist is also part of a group that is also that's a group of psychiatrists that are having this same discussion. Okay, because it brings up, as you know, I mean, for people of African descent, it brings up a lot of emotions. And I saw it also even within our group, certain people not wanting to say things. So I've recommended that instead we have an anonymous survey, like a monkey survey. A survey monkey, that's what they call a survey monkey, so that people can have their input without, like, their real input without being pointed out. You know what I mean? So in other words, it's done anonymously, okay, their input on certain questions. And in that way, at least we have the true feelings, because people don't want to necessarily say, I disagree, or I agree, or whatever the situation is. The main focus is how to get our allies. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do or how to do it. They did report that when they have spoken to groups that the other people don't want to talk about it. Okay. And they're kind of not like wanting to deal with that issue. There's a lot of people that feel as though, well, that happened years ago. I didn't do it, even though they still benefit from it. So, I mean, these discussions are good. So we have decided that we're going to be inviting Dr. White to our regular meetings, so that we could, number one, benefit from the input of the post-traumatic stress piece that's associated with it. And then we're going to be incorporating things that can deal with those emotions. Our group here in Philadelphia has been doing things to, like, going to the Johnson House, which was part of the Underground Railroad here in Philadelphia, in Germantown area where I'm at. Harriet Tubman, came through the Johnson House. We hold our annual Juneteenth celebration there. We've been holding it there. That's the host organization. We've been holding it there. I've been going to it for at least 20 years. Okay, the Juneteenth celebration. So Philadelphia branch is definitely on their way to making certain we have those discussions, because frankly, at this point, I am the only African American on the branch. Okay, it is my intent. I have some work colleagues who do some international work that I would like to bring on to the team. So, I mean, I think the women that we have here, I mentioned Dr. Lisi. I've known her for 20, 30 years. She and I had paths at the health center. At one point, I did a lot of work in public health. That's my background. And so Dr. Lisi was always one that every time I was arguing for a new X-ray machine or new equipment or something to be brought to that public health center. I noticed she was always listening. None of the other physicians were paying attention, but she would be out there listening. And over the years, we've just, become, I trust her as an ally. And we have a few other people. We've been very much involved in the Poor People's Campaign, getting the word out. Both here we had in April 18th, we had a rally here in Philadelphia where we hosted the Poor People's Campaign, and we made certain that we got the word out, that we were there. The same thing in Washington, D.C. back in June. Same thing, we got the word out and we were there. So those have been the major initiatives. And of course, the Poor People's Campaign is with Reverend Barbara and Reverend Theo Harris. Of course, it deals with poor people, of which a large majority of our people are poor. And along with a lot of Latino folks are poor. Here in Philadelphia, we have a very high crime rate. Rita, you were talking about the crime rate in Mexico. I think we're probably matching, okay? We are now getting ready to implement in terms of this whole violence thing. And violence comes in places where there's high poverty, you look at Chicago's Philadelphia and Chicago are running neck to neck in terms of violence. We're getting ready to implement something here in the city of Philadelphia. It's still in its infancy stages. As a matter of fact, that's actually a proposal that I'm working on that's due tomorrow with my organization and some other people. The issue of violence as it relates to poverty and crime and substance use, because of our post-traumatic stress disorder and our ability to want to self-medicate, which, has that proliferation of substance abuse and all of those issues. So in terms of Philadelphia, I know myself personally, I'm very much involved in that anti-violence movement, and particularly as it relates to violence against women and girls. That's been my particular focus, which is one of the reasons that I joined Wolf. It's the major reason that I joined Wolf, because I understand that that is one of the agenda items, and I actually would like to see it here too, because it is. As you have high increased poverty, you have a violence against girls and women. You have increased rapes. It's a form of warfare. The numbers of rapes have skyrocketed here in Philadelphia. Okay, and most of the people that are raped, the numbers are like, it's almost like 40% are between the ages of 12 and 17. Okay, so it's young girls. Okay, so, those are some of the issues that I personally am involved in. And it's one of the issues that why I joined Wolf. So therefore, I'm always trying to incorporate that into everything that I do with regard to Wolf. So our branch here in Philadelphia, they are actively wanting to, there are some African-American women, but they don't attend. So I've never met them, and I've been involved with Wolf now for maybe 8 months, and so I've never met them. Somebody was supposed to participate in the Philadelphia anti-art, I think you called it art, anti-racism discussion that we had back in August. The interesting part was, I recall saying, I don't represent all of the African Americans in Philadelphia. I'm just one, so I then spoke with our branch president, and she was going to bring someone to the meeting, that wasn't part of Wolf, but that person never showed up. I brought Dr. Weich, because I've known Dr. Weich. I've worked with Dr. Weich for a number of years, and I've known him since high school. our branch needs to diversify. We need something to be able to attract young African American women. We have women here in the city that are doing a lot of work, but a lot of times I think that when they see, what's going on, maybe with the exception of me, they might not be. So if anybody has any, I don't know, strategies for how to best, I don't know if that's why the woman that is on the committee hasn't been there since I've been there or what, because of what she sees. And, you kind of don't necessarily feel as comfortable. You got to feel people out and see if they're really an ally and, what the, what is it, underlying purposes. So I just kind of wanted to throw it out here, but that's what Philadelphia has been doing. Yes. Yes, Teresa.
Thank you, Sheila. First of all, as a woman who loves recruiting, the best way to recruit is one-on-one. So the way we've been building branches is we ask women to join who we know and who we work with in the community. So I'm pretty sure you work with other Black women in the community. So the best way to build the participation of Black women in the greater Philadelphia branch, and there are plenty of sharp Black women in greater Philadelphia, is to ask them to join. And people you're already working with, simply ask them to join. The dues are $35 a year. And so just simply ask them to join. And one thing I wanted to let you know, Sheila, is that Felina Farley has joined the call. She's in Columbus, Ohio. So she and Mama Fatima both need to work on building branches where they live, because it only takes 10 members to form a branch. So I thought you might want to let Felina Farley introduce herself since she just joined.
Hi, Felina.
Hi, how you doing, everybody? Sorry, I came in late.
Oh, that's okay. Better late than never, Fatima. So give us some, you're from Columbus, Ohio, representing Wolf?
Yep. I'm going through some gentrification right now with my neighbor, and that they build all these new houses around me, and they keep, well, she keeps calling, reporting city code violations on us because of my chickens. And even though the health inspector for the city we already have a relationship for getting our license anyway. So
and the chickens were there before she got there, right?
Right. So, she just come in here thinking she's gonna change the neighborhood. I was also giving away food as mutual aid through Food Not Bombs, and we had to stop that because she kept reporting about the boxes of where we stored the boxes on the side of the house from the food, and not getting it taken care of, or and then we go clean it up, and then once the boxes pull up from the last giveaway, then she reports us again. And it's like, okay, you see that we're cleaning up after ourselves, but you keep reporting it after the giveaway.
Well, it's a good thing, Felina, that you recognize they're trying to force you out. So that's how they deal with neighborhoods. When the gentrification starts, they really try to, if they can't buy you out, they try to force you out. So what's your plan for avoiding being forced out of your home?
I don't know. I was just about to establish a land deal with the owner of the property, but now they're acting, well, I think they're getting convinced to get rid of the house. They're probably getting offered ridiculous high amounts of money for this house that needs so many repairs that is nowhere near worth that much. And that's where we're trying to fight them not to do it and try to get it ourselves, but it's not looking good because the rest of the economy is making everything else fall behind. And I gotta file for assistance just for utilities at this point because the gas prices is too much for me because I work in the field, so.
Sister Sheila, please notice the time. George, please do not put the agenda back up because the next two items are the BLC affiliates with Will and the no NATO. But when you put the agenda up, we can't see each other in the gallery. Sister Sheila, are we ready to move to the next item on the
Yes,
agenda?
we'll move the next item on the agenda, which is dealing with the affiliates with the Wolf International, and we're allowing 20 minutes for that discussion.
Well, we're gonna try to do it in much less because we do have a hard stop at 5:30. And so this is a topic that we have broached in several other meetings. But the National Board of the US section of WILF says that the Black Liberation Caucus is not really a part of WILF. So even though we're all members in good standing of WILF, all of us have paid our dues, hopefully on time. Please check to make sure that your dues are up to date. Because Shante, you need to check to make sure you have at least 10 members who are up to date with their dues in the Metro Atlanta branch, because we're in the process of making sure that's true in the Fannie Lou Hamer branch. Because if we don't have 10 members that are up to date in the branches where we're branches, eventually I see them trying to make that an issue. But the Wilf,
Okay.
let me finish explaining because this is an action item that we need to reach consensus on. So the proposal is for the Black Liberation Caucus as an independent group to affiliate directly with Wilf International. See, in the international bylaws of Wilf, they allow groups of 10 or more to affiliate with the Wilf International directly, which gives us certain rights. The drawback is that we don't have voting rights as a group when it comes for voting for the national officers of the international board, but in every other way, we have access to the benefits of membership. And one of the important benefits that we've been enjoying as a Black Liberation Caucus, because Wilf International Secretary treats us as part of the US section, even though the national board says we're not really a part of the US section. It's just a matter of time before that gets corrected because it's really a racist position given that we're all members already. So the person who is the membership manager for Wilf International has sent the information on how we become an affiliate of Wilf International because they are welcoming us. And so the decision for us today is, are we willing to become the Black Liberation Caucus of the Americas? It's too bad that Beatrice Schultz is not here today because Beatrice is the alternate delegate for the Americas region, which covers North America, Central America, and South America, and all of the Caribbean. And part of the reason I think we should affiliate as an independent group is because it gives us the opportunity to reach out throughout the Americas and to build sections where there are currently no sections. For instance, building a section in Puerto Rico, which I'm hoping Rita can help us with, since we know Rosa Saavedra moved to Puerto Rico, I heard. And then we would like to have a section in Jamaica and in other places around the Caribbean. And there are places in South America and Central America. By the way, Rita, there is a section in Mexico already, and you should join the section in Mexico. So that's the decision that I'm proposing, that we become the Black Liberation Caucus of the Americas, so that we can begin building sections throughout the Americas, which would include in the Caribbean, and therefore members of African descent, Black, Indigenous people of color in Canada, in all the other countries where elections already, they would be able to join the Black Liberation Caucus of the Americas. So that's the proposal. Are we ready to start the process to become the Black Liberation Caucus of the Americas with the purpose of building wealth in the region, because there are very few countries in the Americas region that are actually sections of Wealth International. And I think we can change that based on relations that we have throughout the Americas. So that's the question.
I think we should. I think we should, because I think we have many things in common. I mean, no matter if we're in Canada or South America or Jamaica or, you know, anywhere, we are oppressed people, and I think we should. That's
So,
my opinion. Can we get a vote?
yeah,
have
we
a
do
quorum?
need to take a stack. So other people, everybody seems to be muted, but Claudia, do you have an opinion, Claudia? So if people can use the reaction button to do a thumbs up or whatever. So I just use the reaction button, trying to do a thumbs up. So if people can do thumbs up from Rita, thumbs up from Shante, thumbs up from Sheila. So
Okay. Okay, let me go and do it again, everyone, so we can count them all, please. Okay. All right, so 1, 2, because everybody's popping up at different times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so that's the majority of, in the, okay, 7. That's the majority. So 7 out of the, what is it, 9, 10 people here?
well, we use consensus.
Okay.
So the question becomes, are there any objections? So Lucy, we really need you to pay attention to this question. Do you have any objection?
Would you repeat the question?
The question is, the Black Liberation Caucus is would be an affiliate of Wealth International, and we would be called the Black Liberation Caucus of the Americas, which means that we would be a group in all of the Americas, so we could have members of Black, Indigenous people of color from Canada.
Yes, Teresa, I remember this discussion. Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay, good. So, so there are 12 of us on the call. So we need to get a consensus So we have a thumbs up. So let's go with the thumbs up again, reaction. So we've heard from Lucy. She's moving about, so she probably can't do the thumbs up, but we've heard her thumbs up. And so, Sister Etta, are you okay with this?
Yes.
Do your thumbs up, Etta. Okay, great, thank you. So are there any objections from anybody? So, because we do everything by consensus, Sheila. So we need to make sure that everybody's on board, or either they're standing aside or that there are no objections. So Sister Deidre, can you do a thumbs up? Okay, and so we saw Rita do her thumbs up earlier. And so George, I thought I saw you do your thumbs up earlier. So
Yes,
Cece,
she did.
Cece, do you have a thumbs up? And Felina, are you okay with this? Okay, Cece's got the thumbs up. So Felina, are you on with this? Okay, so Madam Facilitator, does that give us our consensus?
It looks like it to me. It seems like we all kind of came in at different times, but last I counted was 7, then we got 8 when Deidre put up her thumb. There's 4 people that still haven't, said anything either way or another, but no one dissented. So I guess.
Well, who are the ones who haven't said anything?
See.
Yeah, she put a thumbs
Oh,
up.
she
I
did.
saw.
Okay, I missed it. Okay. Selena, I'm not sure. In Columbus, Ohio. I remember you because I'm supposed to be there this weekend for a family funeral, but something happened. I couldn't go.
Well,
So Felina, I don't know.
This is
Yeah,
the
I
way
put
we
my thumbs up.
Okay, great. So if there are no objections or stand asides, then we have consensus. So we will go forward with the process. So when the strategy team meets on September 9th, Shante, George, Daryl, and I will begin to connect the membership manager in Switzerland at the Wealth International Secretary is on leave until September 12th. So we will connect with her on September 12th to start the process because we do have more than 10 members in the Americas. So we're down on that agenda item. So the next agenda item is no NATO. So I think George is going to kick us off with that.
I am. So until recently, Teresa and I were active in the Disarm End Wars subcommittee, committee. And in that committee, we, Teresa and I, initiated a no NATO working group. There are 8 members now in that working group: myself, Teresa, Odile Haber, Robin Lloyd, Nancy Price, Hockey Wieland, Linda Modica, and Martha. I can't remember Martha's last name. She's from the DMV though, Lucy, so she's one of your people. And we have a chart that I'm sharing with you now.
George, I believe there are actually 10 of us when we count Lucy and Dr. Julianne. And so there are 10 of us. There were 8 of us representing 8 different states. And then the DMV branch joined, and there are 2 people or 3 from the DMV branch. So that gave us 9 different branches that are represented in the working group.
Fantastic, thank you. This chart that I've got shared with y'all now take us through December of 2024. Now, ending NATO, no NATO basically means completely get rid of NATO. Now, ending NATO is a long-term campaign, but we, between now and December 2024, set these goals around educating our members in branches about the importance of ending NATO. So you see our goals here. Right now, from August till November of this year, we want to identify branches that are interested in learning more about no NATO, ending NATO. We also next year will develop packages and resources to do that education on ending NATO, and then hold before December 2024 in at least 10 branch cities events and actions on the importance of ending NATO. You see here, and I'll send you this strategy chart in addition to our BLC strategy chart. But we've identified organizations that are allies around this. There is a No NATO coalition. I sent y'all the link to that today, and hopefully that you can check that out. There are people currently serving in Congress that have a bill in the House to end NATO. And these are some of the elected representatives under individuals who are behind that bill. And here are the members of our subcommittee. I need to add Lucy, Dr. Julie, and Martha to these subcommittee members. My apologies for not doing that already. And there's
yeah.
lots. Yes?
Oh,
Teresa?
yeah, I was just saying Martha Allen is her name.
Great, thanks. There is lots of information about NATO, and there continues to be more and more. These links, when I send you this, you can click on and go to these links. They're very, very informative. And some just downright infuriating, because this report right here, the second thing, the 2030 report, talks about NATO's goal to have full spectrum dominance. Those three words just put chills through me. That means they want the whole planet and every form of military, Army, Navy, all of it, for them to dominate, NATO to dominate the whole planet, not just the North American seas. Okay, and here are activities, just as we have activities on our BLC chart, these are activities that have happened or will happen. And we add to this as things are coming up. So as you can see, this takes us through December of 2023 in terms of activities we currently have, and our objectives, which we'll be working on between now and the end of 2024, making the connection between ending NATO and abolishing nuclear weapons, getting more people in the Congress to sign on to the House Bill 2850, and that we have gotten the groundswell demanding that there is a public hearing in DC on ending NATO.
The other important activity is we're doing the Southern Anti-Racism Network is sponsoring a UN Decade Reparations No NATO tour that's going to kick off in DC on August 5th, on or around August 5th, and it'll be a 6-city tour. So in terms of our Black Liberation Caucus priorities, we're going to include the UN Decade, reparations, and no NATO. So I think possibly this area of work should be added to the BOPA next month. But we're counting on the DMV branch to help with the DC stops on the tour, as well as the Baltimore stops on the tour. Ellen Barfield, Lucy in Baltimore, has agreed to support the Baltimore stops. And then, of course, we'll be counting on the Greater Philadelphia branch and many other comrades in Philadelphia to support the Philadelphia stop. And then the next stop will be New York, which we have quite a few members in New York, as well as the incomparable Alice Slater, who has agreed to speak on the panel on no NATO. that item when we get to the New York stop. And then the stop after that will be Providence, Rhode Island. And then the final stop will be Boston. And we have people already lined up to be part of the host committees in all of the cities on the tour. So this is in part celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Southern Anti-Racism Network. So we're gonna take responsibility for the fundraising as well as doing a lot of the organizing, because many of us here are actually members of the Southern Anti-Racism Network for quite some time. And so it's so good to see Rita still in the mix. But we're going to see that next year, August of 2023, as a big part of making the link between people of African descent and the reason why we do not want the colonial powers to keep wreaking havoc around the world. And the important event that we have coming up this year in October is a No NATO webinar, which is listed on our list of activities. And by the way, Ann Wright, who was a colonel in the military, and she became a diplomat, and then she quit altogether, and she is an expert on No NATO. So she agreed to be a speaker on the panel, to George. She sent me an email saying how happy she would be to be a speaker. So we have like 5 speakers we're reaching out to who are part of NATO countries. So it's going to be Canada. We have a great speaker from Canada who's confirmed. We have Ann Wright, who will be the speaker from the US. And we have a woman from Finland, a woman from Germany, and a woman from Sweden who are being asked. And then because the new president of Wealth International is Sister Sylvie Ngomo from Cameroon, the proposal is to ask Sister Sylvie to speak upon the havoc that the NATO countries have wreaked all over Africa, and that Sister Sylvie will be the moderator for the panel representing Wealth, because we will more than likely use Wealth Zoom account, which will allow us to have hundreds and hundreds of people. And so they're letting us use the Zoom account for the Palestine and Lebanon webinar, which is coming up in September next month. So as you can see, as a Black Liberation Caucus, we're already deepening our relationships with Wealth International. So the No NATO position is a position that Wealth International took years ago, but never really did much about it. And what George and I have been doing over the last few months is pushing this question before the US section of Wealth. And so I think that this is important work. And I will again say that we can decide next month in September whether or not we want to add this as an item on the BOPA note to NATO.
And just a note, we have about 10 minutes, 11 minutes left. We still have the Palestine Lebanon webinar and the next board meeting and the next meeting facilitators to go. So just wanted to kind of say that because I see time is getting crunched.
Well, let's make sure, Madam Facilitator, that there are no questions about the No NATO work, and there are no objections to us participating as a Black Liberation Caucus. That's the question that has to be asked.
What I found interesting was that you said Sweden and Finland, that they're represented, and they just joined, their countries just joined NATO. So, I
Yeah.
guess- yeah, yeah.
But the Wilf women who are speaking are definitely opponents of their country. And that's why the webinar is going to be so important, because we have a no to NATO movement in the United States. They have a really strong no to NATO movement in Canada. And apparently they have a strong movement in Finland, Germany, as well as Sweden. So all of the women speakers will be speaking from the perspective of strong movements to end NATO.
Teresa, I definitely want to attend that webinar.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be, by the way, the dates that we're looking at are October 17th, 18th, or 19th. So all of the speakers are asking, are they available one or more of those 3 dates? And so far, the 2 speakers who have confirmed say that they're available all 3 dates. So it's gonna be, hopefully we will get the other 3 speakers to say they're available all 3 dates. And just as an aside, kind of jumping ahead on the agenda, the Fannie Lou Hamer branch would like to facilitate the September 25th meeting, because I want to invite Sylvie Ngoma, who is the African sister from Cameroon, who just got elected to be the president of Wealth International. And we have had the president come to speak to us before, the previous president, Joy. And so now we want to ask her. So I'll take responsibility for that. So if there are no objections to the Fannie Lou Hamer branch facilitating the September 25th meeting. Thank you, Donna. So that knocks out one other agenda item. So Madam Facilitator, it looks like there are no objections to us participating in the No to NATO movement. So you want to move the agenda?
Okay, so the Palestine Lebanon webinar is September 13th. I guess the link to that webinar, has it already been sent? Oh, no.
I'm gonna put it in the chat as soon as
Yes,
I get it
okay.
right here. Y'all will watch me getting it, and I'm gonna put it in the chat. And I want to thank Shantae McLaughlin with the Metro Atlanta brand, or Atlanta Metro branch, for this gorgeous flyer,
Yes.
which, along with all the other things I'll be sending y'all today, you'll get quite the packet from me. You'll get the recording, the chat, 2 charts, and this flyer. With right here is where you can register. You can see the hyperlink here works. Share this with people and your networks. Here are our speakers. We have someone from Palestine, someone from Lebanon, Nada Farat, who is from Lebanon and also on the Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee, Lucy Murphy, our one and only, for the Black Liberation Caucus in the DMV, recently went to Palestine, and she'll be speaking on the 13th. And Solfrid, some of y'all may remember, she was a guest at a past BLC meeting, and she was at the DMV meeting. She does work around children who are refugees. She's from Wilf in Norway. I, along with Barbara Taft from the Wilf US Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee, will be the moderator, and our own Teresa Elamine is the organizer of this great webinar. And it will indeed be, we're using the Zoom of International. We expect a huge amount of people to participate and attend. And we count on each of y'all to share with your networks and get people registered and coming to that webinar on the 13th. That's all I have for it, unless there are questions, Sheila.
So we have the next Wolf board meeting in September 27th. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's Wolf US, right?
That's the Wilf US board on the 27th. And I don't know if any of y'all have yet attended as a guest. You send an email to secretary@wilfus, to be included. They will then send you the Zoom link and information for the board meeting. This is the board meeting where we will let them know that we will be affiliated with International Wilf, and they get to the decision, they, the board, whether or not we're also still part of Wilf US, because we're
Well,
all members.
Let me say it this way. The president of WILF has been asked to make a decision using the board meeting on the 27th about whether or not we would be accepted as dual members. Because if they say we can't be, that means that they no longer get to count the 50 or more members that we've recruited in their numbers. So I fully expect the national board to allow us to continue in all of the branches that we're already in, to continue as members of the US section, as well as members of this special group called the Black Liberation Caucus of the Americas. So we would be the Black Liberation Caucus of the Americas region. And so I will let them know about the decision that we've made today and any further discussion that we might have about it on September 25th, because if Sylvie Ngoma comes to our meeting on September 25th, this is a decision that has to be approved by the international board, and they will have their first meeting in October. So before we know for sure that we will be accepted to do this, the international board has to agree. So if we have the support of the president, Sylvie Ngoma, at our meeting on September 12th, that's how we know that probably the other members of the board. I know that we have at least 3 or 4 votes on the board because Beatrice Schultes, I think Janet Slaughter, as well as Melissa Torres, who's a vice president, would all vote to support our application. So the national board meeting is very important for us to attend in large numbers as members of the Black Liberation Caucus. So please send a message to secretary@wilfus.org and just say, please please accept my request to attend the September 27th meeting. George and I will remind all of you again before the date comes up.
Can you repeat that address so we can put it in the chat? Secretary at
Wilf US. George, could you put the in
okay.
the chat? It's secretary@wilfus.org. The secretary is Diane Blake, and you have to send that message to secretary@wilfus.org because that's the official request, and it has to be done that way. So I believe Shantae, George, and I believe Donna also have attended the national board meetings. So we're inviting all of you to be sure to be at the national board meeting. So George, just put it in the chat. Sheila, you put it in the
Okay,
chat.
I did too. I did
Okay.
too, but I'm not sure. Okay, we got it. I just did it in capitals. Quick question. I know you said about 3 people on the US Wolf are going to vote with us to go ahead and do the BLC. What's their total?
No, Sheila. I was
Okay.
talking about 3 people on the international board.
Oh, okay. So are we in any discussions with the US to find out, or at least to get them to approve it, some sort of negotiations or something? So, because if they didn't want us, I feel there's some pull back.
Oh,
from
well,
doing that.
Sheila, they have held a pretty hard line on their racist position.
Mhm.
That as Black, Indigenous people of color, we don't have a right to self-organize a group. But there are quite a few WILF members of European descent who disagree. And several of them are going to be reaching out to the president of WILF to tell her so. So we already have that commitment from Robin Lloyd and Gloria Macmillan and other members of European descent who are also members of the European Descent Allies Caucus. So I fully expect them to stand with us. And I think that hopefully the board will not be foolish enough to not allow us to maintain our membership, because it's just accepting the status quo, because we're already members of the US section. So they would have to purge us from the US section. And I think that would be very hard to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I would not be too concerned, Sheila.
Okay, I'm sure. Okay, great, great, great.
So are there any other items on the agenda?
No, with the exception of, you're going to take it for next month. And then after that, let's see. Looks like we can adjourn. Who's going to be facilitating? Will you facilitate, Teresa?
Yes, on September 25th.
Okay, great. So our next meeting is on September 25th at 4 p.m. And we can adjourn, and we're 1 minute over. Thank you, everyone, for.
Thanks, everybody. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody.